All right, welcome back. It's now time for State of the Nation, where we put our pulse on the nation and find if we have a healthy heartbeat. Now, there are quite a number of things that Kenyans have been concerned about, particularly when it comes to the political arena. And those are issues that take us to war every 5 years that we have elections. Now, we do know that in 2018, there was, issues that came after, 2017 rather, after the elections. But out of the result of that, we have Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, who on the 9th of March have what we now refer to as the handshake. What was that? It was, well, basically the two leaders coming together to say that a truce needs to be called for Kenyans to be united. However, there were certain issues that were raised, and I'm going to read some of them when they came together. And these were issues to do with ethnic antagonism, lack of national ethos, inclusivity, devolution, divisive elections, security, corruption, shared prosperity, and responsibility. The 9 points that came out of what we now call the Building Bridges Initiative, or the BBI. So we are asking whether that handshake has met your expectations. Allow me to start with some of the tweets that have come through, and we're going to be opening, or rather the phone lines are open, so we'd like to hear what your take is on this. I'm joined by Honorable Omingo Magara to have this discussion. We're expecting two other legislators, but maybe because of the weather and the rain, they're running a little bit late, but we'll carry on all the same. But on to that question, whether this has met your expectations, we have some answers. Mary Jabuna says, let's wait and see the final BBI reports to decide. Good things, cooling of tribal animosity and putting looting sprees in check. Mary Jabuna, that's what she has to say. We have David Odede who says, then why are we electing the president? Stop this thieves. We'll remain thieves, whether appointed, elected, selected, invited, bequeathed, or they get crushed. Deal with the values and punish the crime decisively. I'm sure that is to do with matters corruption. Halisi says there is peace at the moment unless there is something else it was supposed to cover. Is the handshake all about peace? Do we have peace? And the question is, if we have peace, is it peace that's going to be long-lasting past 2022? I'll read one more comment before we begin the discussion here. We have Stephen Ogunde who says, handshake has introduced an accommodating political climate which may prevent future election violence. Please note, at times you need a few wise men to come up with a good idea and then share publicly for polishing up purposes. That's from Stephen Ogunde. Keep your comments coming. We'll read them as we carry on. So let me come to you, Honorable Omingo Magara. First of all, your general perspective as to whether the handshake has indeed met its expectations so far. We know that it's a work in progress, yes, but so far?
So far, to the extent, first and foremost, let me underscore the fact that handshake, given the intention, is the best thing that would have happened for Kenya, because otherwise we were almost coming down to our knees in terms of our development agenda and progress because of violence. And the line of peace, that for sure was achieved almost instantly. However, upon achieving that peace, it was perceived that some people were left out. I mean, not because that we all had to be there on the table, but some people felt left out, and therefore you have seen factions, even within a political ruling party, people thinking that they're out instead of in, as intentionally formulated in the election of 2017. And that's why we are seeing even the war against graft is being fought by people who feel tribally people are being targeted. So you see, the intention was bringing in the inclusivity and tribal animosity, but yet that has already sprung up in terms of our people are being targeted. But not anticipating debate, I think I like what one of the viewers said, that we don't have to anticipate debate. These are issues which I think the president and the former prime minister put on the table for the BBI. And I'm not saying that I had to be there to come with an idea, because an idea will start with one or two persons. Now it's going to be our idea when it becomes public, because from where I sit, as a chair of Center for Multiple Democrats, that time we gave our presentations, and we're waiting with a better breath to see whether they were captured.
But question is, Honorable Magara, would the document solve anything as much as maybe it is a proposal, and there was an opportunity for public participation. But are you expecting the document to hold anything new, given that we already had the likes of the Ndungu report, we had the the Waki report, the Kriegler report, which deals with divisive elections? All those reports are gathering dust. What new thing would this report bring?
We have heard from the president himself saying that he is determined to leave Kenya a united country after he leaves office. And that's why I'm saying, let us not judge before it comes in. We hope that the president, having no hang-ons now, leaving office, he will surely open his hands and maybe even remove the gloves and punch to put Kenya on a straight path. And that's why I'm saying, it didn't have to be like I was part of the initial thinking, but I got an opportunity, we put it on the table, we share. But initially, it does not then solve our problem, because it's now coming to public debate before it is actually a change of constitution using a popular vote. In that popular vote, that report need to be reduced into questions, put to the people for them to approve. So we really have too far from it. But as we are starting the journey to heal, we're opening some other wounds. That's why I feel like even the issue of inclusivity and tribal animosity, it is now kind of pinching people the wrong way for them to start reacting differently. And what I'm also saying is, let's also be, not anticipate debate. Let's see what it has. Then some of us will take proper positions, depending on whether it was meant to seriously deliver the Kenyan people's thoughts, or it was an individual thing.
As we wait, Honorable Magara, what is your assessment, your honest assessment of where we are today? Let us look at some of those issues that were raised. There is corruption. We are reading a story now of a police officer who's being, interrogated for 87.7 million. Graft has really brought this country to its knees. We have just read of a story where we have hospitals that were given equipment or delivered equipment that is not being used. Yet we have Kenyans dying because they cannot afford, just basic health facilities. That is all graft that smells under it.
My brother, I've told you, to the extent of attaining that peace for the moment, which I think is not a solution for the future, because basically most of the ills are still here. For instance, I have given you an example. When we say let's fight graft, you are seeing people saying people are being targeted. So
Correct.
the people don't know the tribe. We have said in the BBI, in fact, even our pronouncements from our leaders, that nobody is going to shed blood in an election. Disappointingly, Kibera and Coast, there was bloodshed for an MCA elections. And that's why you said rightly that if it does not cure this, 2022, I don't want to be a prophet of doom, it will be worse. Because we are sitting on a cancerous wound that will rupture in 2022 unless we want to really address it to the core. You've talked about accountability.
Yeah.
The minister is saying, yes, I paid so much, but it was not the county paying. She's not responsible because maybe she doesn't pay. What are we talking about? Graft. It is here. You hear there was a siphoning of KPA oil, billions of shillings being wasted. And then I think, as I said, the only leverage I'm giving the BBI is to see the report and see what it proposes and whether it's going to be embraced. Otherwise, we have only attained peace. Let me give you an example.
And even that piece, allow me to challenge it in the sense that it could be temporary,
Yes.
by virtue of the fact that if we don't deal with the underlying issues, the peace that we have is purely just boiling underneath and is going to explode at some point.
I've said it already,
Correct.
that it will explode in 2022 unless we have identified the wound, covered it for now as we prepare surgery room.
Right.
If we do not even amputate that arm or leg, the whole body will be infected in 2022, and that I will tell you without winking. Of course, I do know that when this BBI comes in going by the experience of 2007, it is whichever way it goes that will euphorically again send Kenya that way.
Right.
And that's where people are going to take the positions which either will fly with or collapse with. And I'm saying it is critical, my brother, that we really address these matters to the core if we are supposed to get anything sensible out of this. We are saying, let us not blame them for what they identify, the issues which are still on. We believe the recommendations coming from it, whether they become legislative and punitive, we will embrace them. If it's a change of electioneering process where the winner takes it all is changed to a mixed member representation, that will be another way where the Moro guy will also be a prime minister at one point. That could also be a cure. Whether we want to maintain the status quo as it is, where people are saying we like it the way it is because it favors me today. They forget that tomorrow somebody else will be having the road on the other side. I am saying that most of the ills they are addressing the 9-point agenda. Look at about the food security, my brother. What is happening? There's collapse of sugar, there's collapse of maize, there's collapse of the milk sector. It means that we are on the rampage and everybody's speaking like it's a free-for-all now, perhaps thinking that when the BBI comes, we'll never have a chance to steal. So the sooner this BBI comes in, we stop now sitting on the fence and jump in and say, yes, this is what you thought, we told you this is not what the end result is going to be, we are going to suffer at the consequences. And I am sure that anybody meaning well for this country. And I want to pray that my president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, brings sanity before he leaves office. Because presidents make marks at their second term when they don't look back for elections. This is his turn.
This is his turn, and he's running out of time. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are. Do let us know. The phone lines are now open. Do call us. Devolution. That's another issue that came up on the 9 points that the Building Bridges initiative that we're expecting, the report, sooner than later. As soon as the president is back in the country, we're hoping that they will hand over the report to him and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And from there, of course, we can read through it and see what it is. But there has been those who feel that devolution has had two major issues. Let me start with the first one, being the disagreement between national government and the devolved units. According to the devolved units, they feel that national government is choking them by virtue of restricting the money that gets to them, and as a result is maintaining power at the national level. Do you feel that has been happening?
I think whatever little, and I want to paraphrase what the president said, pick what is small, demonstrate how effective we can use it, and then we'll ask for more. In some counties, devolution has actually worked.
It has worked.
In some, it is not working. Are we living two different worlds? One is patronized by graft and devolved corruption. The others are working. So, I mean, even that in the Bible, it says, you are given a talent, multiply it. Then demonstrate that I have done this with this little, give me more. I am telling you, the wastage in some counties is appalling. And it is not about us craving for more money to just spend on nice living. Can we touch lives? In some counties, you know where you've been in this country, they've been profiled, you have seen some success stories, including people packing milk. You know I'm biased about milk. People packing milk from an arid area that never was. Where there is rains 24/7, people are still starving, and guys are carrying jerrycans to pick water from the river when there is rain 24/7 to some of those counties. What are we saying? We must demonstrate that whatever little we've had on that score, yes. And two, we live on a tax budget. Surely, we are not also producing as much. How do you expect me to triple that income from which coffers? Unless we want you to pay more taxes. Of course, that tax we are paying is partly being wasted out there. You're paying more for wastage. And the little that we have not embraced and given service delivered to the people that we require. Number two, the central government on this issue of medical equipment, I don't want to blame the government, but the governors, I'm sure, I was told that at the School of Government, the ministry, the committee of governors in charge of healthcare actually approved that bit.
They approved
because
that
they told them, we're giving you. They never knew what it was. Now that when you cut your suit, please put it on. But I think also, even those ones who are buying because it's not the county paying, they must be accountable on that point, agenda of responsibility.
All right, allow me to pause you there. I want to take a call from Joel Wekunda, who's calling from Kakuma. Joel, from Kakuma, to your comment or question.
Hello.
Yes, Joel.
Yeah, mine is just to say that I think the handshake is doing more harm than good.
Why do you say that?
Because it has killed the opposition. There's no official opposition, in that the opposition and the government are in bed together, you see? Hello.
All right, so for you, you say it's doing more harm than good.
Yeah, it's doing more harm than good.
Thank you very much, Joel. That's
In
Joel.
fact-
All right,
in
thank
fact,
you.
I will advise that we go for
We go for? Okay, I think we've lost that call, but I didn't hear the last part of it. But according to him, he says that it's doing more harm than good. And maybe he has a valid point, Mheshimiwa,
Yes.
by virtue of the fact that we had a very robust opposition. But before we even get too much into that,
Yes.
let's also define what an opposition is there to do. Not just make noise,
Yes.
and not just to, create violence, but to keep government in check.
In check. Objective opposition is not when you are shouting and calling each other names, raising points, issues that can be canvassed and justifiable, and of course evidence presented. I agree with him that the only thing everybody's flowering, and if you go against the referendum and the handshake, people will say you want the people to shed blood. Granted, of course, life is sacred. Only God must take lives. We are losing lives, of course, out of utter carelessness as well. Granted, the peace was there. We have that tranquility. But do you know what it did? I told you, all the slow bumps on government were removed from opposition. They see no ill, they see no problem, they see no pain, and therefore we are all okay. Because at one point, I listened to one of a very senior politician sitting on the national television telling Kenyans that, the budget was terrible, but I couldn't oppose it now because there's a handshake. I mean, I felt so sorry. Because it means, therefore, you bequeath your bed, your matrimonial bed to somebody to lie on. I mean, when you are alive, it's actually an abomination, in actual fact. So there's a bit of, you call it state capture, for even on parliament. When they tell you, I'm twisted because now Baba and the president
and that being the case, Mheshimiwa, then would you agree with Joel that there is more harm being done by the handshake than good? Because then, as we audit the handshake, what we are looking at is the progress. There could be, like you said, the BBI report that we're waiting for, and we're waiting to see what that has. But the question is it working for Kenya long term?
As I said, for now, we can't also fight because we want to see that report. That's what I'm saying. Let's give a benefit of doubt. It was good. The points that were raised, fundamental points. Let's see whether they are captured properly and what remedy they are proposing.
They're proposing.
I think, to me, ask me after the report comes and when we read it, I will tell you exactly what I feel about it. Because for now, we shall be kind of preempting the debate.
Okay.
Because they identify the matter and they are put on the table. Let's see what prescription they have, what they make sense. And even if the prescriptions are there, my brother, are they going to see light of day?
Are they going to see light of day? Let me take a call from Meru. And this is Leonard from Meru. Thank you for calling. To your question or comment, Leonard.
It's a comment. Hello?
Yes, go ahead,
It's
Leonard.
A comment. It's a comment. I wish to share that HANDSHAKE has not really lived to its expectation. And in fact, even if people are saying that there is peace, it does not mean it brought peace. It is just calm. Calm is not peace. It was not really representative. It needed to broaden and include all the people, because those are just people chosen by two people. And unless they include other parties, BBI will be a mirage. Come 2022, it will come unless, for example, how can the president embrace Raila and then put out his deputy? I think, or even other NASA affiliate parties, they are not included
In the BBI.
In the BBI.
Okay.
And there's so many other parties that were not included. So even if the general public did not have any public participation. So let us agree that the calm we have is not peace.
Not peace.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Leonard in Meru. And again, like we had mentioned, the fact that it brought a semblance of peace does not necessarily mean that everything is calm. There could be a lot boiling under. Do you think, Mheshimiwa, that one of the maybe speed bumps, as you call them, that BBI may have put themselves in is the fact that it was, first of all, shrouded in a lot of mystery between just two leaders. And as a result, many people did not feel like they're included in that just initial step.
It is true, as I said earlier, that not everybody was involved. But you know how Kenyan people think. I've not consulted, there's no consensus, and then we don't move. In fact, the fact that Uhuru was talking to Raila is an environment where we can also implant a seed. Remember, there was no way we were going to plant that seed or even talking the way we were talking and correcting if there was not that
coming together of the two leaders. Right.
And as I said, that is something that we need to applaud all of us. It gave an environment. In fact, my brother is saying that other NASA politicians are not involved. My party was not involved, People's Democratic Party. But I have got an opportunity to make good what would have been wrong because the environment has been created. Whatever angels attach them to get together, can we use that window to hammer our point and save Kenya? Not that I was not consulted. Really, can we all of us have the same mind? And I think some of us Kenyans and some areas where some of us come from, we suffer from a syndrome called PhD. No PhD of going to school. If I see you with a good idea, I don't want you to go fly with it. I'll pull you down. Pull him down, PhD. Pull her down.
No meaning for PhD right
so
there.
I'm saying, let us give them that chance. And of course, it's only about hours to get it to fruition. When it is not done, now NASA affiliate parties can now bring their issues and say, oh, you told us this, but we don't think this makes sense. Can it be then done this way? Because now a national debate will be created. Remember, this does not automatically turn into a referendum. It has to then be canvassed. There has to be questions put. People need to input and amend it's not made cast in law. Again, remember, there's no legal provision for this BBI. It is a debate that we must start somewhere. Even the one which you had in 2007, the political parties, whatever, it was not anchored in law, but it gave us a way to start a conversation. I am persuading Kenyans, even including myself, to be persuaded, to hold my horse and read that report and see whether it has a keyword for the issues we have and the serious recommendations that all of us must embrace for purpose of growing this country beyond this, so that we don't have bloodshed. Remember, if you can see MCAs and people dying because of an MCA by-election, it could be more in 2022. We pray that things then calm down from this report, and that fact that they were discussing, we have had a chance to engage.
All right. Let's take a call from Jolio Asif in Mombasa. Jolio Asif in Mombasa, to your comment or question.
Good morning. I just wanted to make a few comments. First and foremost, handshake is a good thing.
Okay.
With the country coming together, where we're coming from and where we are now is two different worlds. Can you imagine the economy today we have, as bad as it is? Can you imagine if we still had people going on the streets, people still marching on the roads, shops being closed, no businesses? Life would be hell. It's a good thing. But another thing I wanted to comment about this gentleman there with you that was talking about the devolution being killed. The national government cake right now is about 3 trillion, I think. That's the cake of the national government, and county governments all together, put them all together, they get 330-something billion. From 3 trillion, what is 332 billion for the national government to call the county government fees? This is the problem. We need to empower devolution in order for us to see it actually work. They need to stop all this. County government needs to ask money from national government. They need to just give money direct to the county so the county can actually do development properly.
Right.
So we really need to do properly. The counties don't need to ask the national government for money according to the constitution. It's supposed to be given to them directly without them seeking for the money.
All right. Thank you, Jolio Asif in Mombasa. And his comments are basically two. One being the fact that the handshake is a good thing, because you can imagine where we were before the handshake. There was a lot of unrest. We had what we would call the Machozi Monday. Every Monday there would be protests and all sorts of things. The second thing is the question of empowering devolution. Is national government choking devolution by keeping most of the money to itself and having that control in terms of power? But as much as we do not have the Machozi Monday today, as we audit the handshake, the question, of course, we are asking is some of those issues that brought up Machozi Monday, have they been addressed such that come 2022, we're not back to Machozi Mondays? Those, of course, being some of them. And, of course, the question of devolution has come up again. And the amount of money that is the national budget compared to what they're sharing to the county government leaves a lot to be desired, which is why there is a call for a change in the constitution, which would give a minimum that the national government has to, share with the county governments for devolution to be empowered.
One, I think I want to correct the view that this gentleman may be thinking that I'm against devolution. Devolution is the best thing that would have happened. But whatever is being proposed is what was written in law, and the dispute we saw was because Parliament had a thinking one way and the Senate had their thinking the other way. And of course, what they were fighting over was maybe one, dam, corruption money, the difference between what the Senate were proposing and the National Assembly, the difference was so minimal. I think it's also a showing of might, who is stronger, upper, lower house. I am not against devolution. What I'm against devolution is wastage within devolution agenda. And I said, I gave a comparative statement that some have done well with little money, some have done zero. Justify that and move on. Let us also create more wealth. Let's have an enabling environment to move on. My worry again is 2022. If we legitimize what has happened today, that I can get into a feud with you, and then we are brought in through something like this, and then I also get my share in this administration, for example, I can tell you it's going to play back in 2022. If somebody can also muzzle about 45% of the Kenyan population to his side, this is going to play back in 2022. Because nobody has got a preserve of violence. Anybody else, unless we cure this once and for all, somebody who can also manage a particular sizable community, population in this country, can also move into this direction.
Correct.
We must stop it now and forever. So that during the electionary process, it is so above board that if you complain, actually Kenya will say, boss, you didn't have it. It has been taken the other way. Where our vote counts, where the counting is properly done, where the right candidate is declared, where then when you get power, you do not exclude people, you include the rest of them and move as a nation. This, as I want to repeat, the BBI, the handshake, it has only been done twice by Raila and Kibaki, and now with Uhuru. If we don't heal this country beyond now, it's 2022, we shall have another handshake demanded. We can't for a handshake.
Let me take a call from Samuel in Gong. Good morning, Samuel. What are your thoughts or comments towards the conversation?
Good morning. How is your morning today? Hello, good morning.
Yes, go right ahead, Samuel.
Yeah, I want to make a contribution towards the handshake. Mine, I've seen that the handshake has been doing bad so far. There is no way you can tell us that you're uniting all other Kenyans and you're leaving others out. We have seen how the proponents of handshake are trying to attack those who are opposing the handshake, and especially the deputy president. You have seen those who are supporting the handshake are the one who, by the time you were approaching 2017 election, they were still beating the same drums, trying to threaten us that we are going to have bloodshed come 2017. And they are the ones who are still saying that come 2022, we are going to have bloodshed. Why until... Hello?
Yes, carry on.
Yes, why do they continue threatening Kenyans by telling us that until and unless we have someone being government, until we accommodate one individual, until we try to quench a thirst or thirst that belongs to one individual. That is the only time that we are going to have peace and tranquility, as they try to put it in this nation. We cannot afford to mutilate the same constitution that we gave unto ourselves, the same constitution that we are saying that it is one of the best constitutions we have in Africa and in the world. We will not allow ourselves to be taken to that route. We have all the laws that require to deal with to deal with corruption. There is nothing that they are going to bring new.
Okay. Thank you very much, Samuel. That's Samuel Ngong. Keep your calls coming, and we will keep your comments airing. Now, Mheshimiwa, Samuel brings in an important point there that we cannot ignore, because he does represent a certain demographic that feel the handshake is about one person having, getting or creating opportunity for one person. And this even goes to reflect, and we're waiting for BBI report, but one of the proposals that we have had may come out of the BBI report is an expanded executive. Now, there are those who feel that expanded executive is purely to accommodate certain individuals, which would be dangerous.
Please, let me address the issue Kichuki talked about, of bloodshed. I did not say for once that I admire. I said life is sacred. But if we set bad precedents, like if we do it because we fear somebody is going to shed blood, then bring him on the table and that's mutilate the Constitution, then we are actually not governed by the rule of law. We must set issues straight that go beyond individuals. That's what I'm saying. That unless we address the matter once and for all, we may have a playback. I'm not saying.
How do we address that matter?
It is what really happens is the winner takes all thing syndrome is an electioneering process that is opaque sometimes, stolen elections.
So would you see the challenge there, or the issue being the IEBC? Because if everybody thought and felt that the winner was genuine and legitimate,
yes,
do you think it would bring down the temperature?
Certainly. Like in 2003, I think 2002, we had a most really honest election. I want us to go there. Let's get back to base. And I'm sure what is ill-motivated, what motivates us negatively is the fact of the winner takes all in an electioneering process. All these are about politics, trust you me. So if we address the political thing, and it must not necessarily go through, unfortunately also, there's some areas of course you can't touch through parliamentary procedure. Like representation must go through referendum, unfortunately. But if that's the only way to go, because it's only a fool who does not change his mind. If we find an item that is ailing us and we promise ourselves by taking an oath under Article 1 that we shall be true allegiance to our country, we need then to have that corrected for posterity. Because even the laws, when they are amended, there's a mischief we are trying to address. Number two, we're talking about, some section of people who is representing who don't think we need to change the Constitution. Yes, I said it earlier. When Uhuru shook hands with Raila, the team with the deputy president felt a little jittery because actually they fought together. And it must not be about an individual being given. I think from where I see it, truly, if I'm amending my constitution for purpose of accommodating an individual, that I will also oppose. But if it's for changing what we require to put in place to have Kenya stable after elections, then it becomes an event that comes and goes with tranquility, and then there's nobody who ships his investment away because we're approaching 2022. That's the kind of changes I would want to see. We want it to see through BBI. And I'm also requesting other Kenyans, please don't grandstand, because it is only by giving in an inch, another one gives an inch, we get a compromise. That's the only way this country can move forward. But on the issue of having an individual being addressed, I have said it in this forum again, that even when I was in Parliament, I told my colleagues, please legislate when you have power to insulate yourself, and make sure that that power, when somebody sells his hands, you're also safe.
You're also safe.
That is what I...
All right, I just want to read some of the comments that are coming through via Twitter as we get closer and closer and edge to the end of this interview. And of course, the question we're asking is whether you feel the handshake has met its expectations so far. Has it dealt with some of those issues that you possibly would have felt needed to be dealt with? Stephen Ogunde says that the new things BBI will bring depends on public participation. It should make the executive all-inclusive and not winner takes it all. If it requires introducing more positions to accommodate our opposition for the sake of peace, then so be it. We have Enoch who says, now handshake is only about shaking hands. If it's only to reduce political tension, then it is not helpful. We have George Toll who says they ought to have been subjected to an elaborate selection process. Maybe that is the BBI team. They should have been selected. One wonders by who, but there you go. Mary Jabulana says that let's wait and see the final BBI report to decide. Good things, cooling of tribal animosity and putting the looting spree in check is definitely a welcome idea. I'll read one more from Mary who says, we certainly have been disappointed by the handshake because we expected more responsibility from our politicians. This has not happened so far. What are your thoughts? Has the handshake delivered? Has it been, up to expectations? Unlimited Blessings is asking what expectations? Maybe just showing the low threshold that they have in terms of the expectation that we have. Now, Mheshimiwa Magara, we'll need to wind up soon. Yeah. What would your wrapping and, sort of, if we put all this together, what do you conclude out of it? Because we have two issues here, two main issues. We have the political side of what the BBI has to achieve, but we have what we have as a country. When we look at it as a country where we are today, we may be having a semblance of peace, but we're doing badly economically. We have job losses left, right, and center. We have a government that promised the youth are going to be more employed. That is not happening. We have a government that promised stadia and supporting things like agriculture. That is not happening. As we speak, we already have a story of a Kenyan team that was stranded not too long ago. I mean, there is a lot of hope and despair in the news that we see on our day-to-day basis.
This discussion ought to start somewhere. And it started with the BBI. We have got some fodder here to chew. My take is I want to persuade those ones who are not in this to throw in their objective contribution, both publicly and, I'm sure some people didn't make representations, both publicly and even by memorandum. Let's canvass the report when it comes out. I agree with most Kenyans that nothing much has taken place except the physical handshake that tone down the temperatures, which is an aspect, as I said, which is good enough. We give them that kind of thumbs up for that handshake. But it's a consequence of the handshake that is really, which comes out of the BBI, that is going to put a test of times to this great gentlemen if they meant well for this country. If not, it will be disaster. And I want to say this not because I mean anything wrong about our country, because I really believe that this is the best country to live in the whole world.
Absolutely.
We must then be able to address some of the issues. I want members also of Parliament to take responsibility. Please, your friend who is now a friend with your boss must not necessarily be let loose. If there are ways to correct them, you correct them. That's a true friend. I am not going to talk about the budget because now we have peace. I think that's irresponsible. All institutions, before this happens, we are not supposed to throw in a towel and say, let's wait to get direction. And then people have got brains between their ears that you can also see this is not right.
This is not
correct
right.
It as we move.
Absolutely. I want to take a last call from Henry in Nandi. Then when I come to you, I'd just like you to address the president because the buck does stop somewhere.
Right.
At the end of the day, he's going to be the one that we're going to. Henry in Nandi.
Good morning, Mr. Ketonga.
Yes, good morning, Henry.
Yes, I'm Henry from Nandi County.
Yes, sir.
I support what the proposed PPI, but the problem, it would have been good when it was inclusivity between the opposition. That is inclusivity to opposition and the government. That would have been wise. Now you can see now some opposition leaders are away. It would have been Mr. Ruto was in, Mr. Alonso was in, Mudavadi was in. It would have been good, Mr. Gitonga. That's now when we go now for referendum, and you see the country now in crisis. No employment is in this country. It is where wage bill has gone up. You have seen a lot of problems in this country, Mr. Gitonga.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Henry. And, well, as we wind up, Mheshimiwa, of course, politically speaking, it's almost impossible to include everybody. And like you mentioned earlier, the handshake was a good platform to start off, but we cannot stay there. 1 year, 7 months later, we cannot be discussing the handshake as though it's something that happened yesterday. There should already have been some traction. But what is your message to the president? The buck does stop somewhere.
Please allow me to talk to this gentleman who is from Nandi, Henry, that really, Henry, is there is a fundamental issue. Not everybody can be involved in it because people wake up from their own house with different minds. There's something has emerged. Can we capitalize on it? Make the best out of it. Now, to my president, whom with tremendous respect, he has an opportunity to leave a legacy that will live beyond ages. I don't know. He's a young president. What we tell the young president. He must leave as a statesman after he leaves office. At least put it that way. Please slay this corruption thing. Help us to heal this nation objectively. Let's include our people. In fact, I've had people complaining some have not been included in job opportunities. Do the best you can to make sure that Kenya moves in one direction. But finally, Mr. President, you have nothing to lose but to put Kenya on the right path. That will be the entire success that you have. For the opposition, let us not anticipate opposition to the BBI. Let's not anticipate debate. Let's make the best out of it. If it's not what serves us right, please, can we discuss? And I want you to be able to call me after we read the report, and I can tell you, I also give you my objective view because I'm also a Kenyan and I'm interested in this
I'll certainly call you, and we shall have that discussion once the BBI report is released. Thank you very much, Honorable Omingo Magara, a well-seasoned politician, but also a governance consultant, for joining us this morning on State of the Nation. That's where we'll have to wind up this morning. Thank you for your calls, your tweets. I'll continue reading them as we carry on with the show, because Morning Express continues after the break. For now, we take a short break. Later on Black and White, we're going to be looking at FGM, the progress that has been made so far, not just in Kenya, but in different countries. For now, we take a short break, but do stay with us. Morning Express continues after the break.